This is Infinity, and in this episode I'll show you genius and unusual megaprojects that are on a whole nother level. Let's go! Let's start with a project that was launched only a year ago, but has already created quite a stir. I'm talking about a telescope called the James Webb. This telescope has become one of the most ambitious projects in the history of astronautics. First of all, it's very expensive. It's estimated to cost $10 billion. Secondly, the telescope is very large. It's the largest space telescope with the largest mirror diameter, which is 21.3 feet. But the most important thing is that the telescope has already managed to surprise everyone with its incredible images. They're so beautiful and high quality that I can't even believe that a real object made them. It seems like the images are photoshopped, but no, this is the work of the telescope, which, by the way, is over 932,000 miles from Earth. Thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope, not only we saw distant galaxies for the first time in history, but also learned interesting facts and details about space and some planets. For example, in the atmosphere of one exoplanet, the James Webb Space Telescope recorded the presence of carbon dioxide. This can tell a lot about how this exoplanet was formed, as well as other objects in space. All in all, the project has paid off. As for another interesting space project, it's another telescope called FAST. Yes, from the outside it looks more like a giant saucer or satellite dish, but in fact it's a radio telescope located in China. The 1,640-foot FAST allows researchers to study the formation and evolution of galaxies, dark matter, and other scientific problems. How do you imagine a nuclear power plant? Probably something like the one in Chernobyl, right? And how do you like this nuclear power plant? It's strange, isn't it? From the outside, it looks like an ordinary ship. But in fact, it's a unique mega-project. This is a floating nuclear power station, Academic Lomonosov, which is located in the port of Pevek, Russia. By the way, it's in the northernmost town in Russia, and Academic Lomonosov is the northernmost nuclear power plant in the world. What's a floating nuclear power station in the first place? It's a ship without its own engines, which has a nuclear reactor. That is, it's a nuclear power plant which can be brought relatively quickly by water to the desired port and provide people with energy. Academic Lomonosov provides Pevek with electricity and heat. The capacity of the new NPP is sufficient to supply a small town with a population of 100,000 people with electric power. It speaks for itself. The station reliably provides the residents with energy, which is simply vital in the conditions of the far north. Another important thing is that such floating nuclear power station makes it possible to abandon dirty energy sources and reduce carbon dioxide emissions. The plant itself needs to be reloaded with fuel only once a decade, and the operation of the plant is designed for at least 40 years. Academic Lomonosov became the first mega-project from a whole series of floating nuclear power stations. Currently, scientists are developing other similar stations, so soon several modernized younger brothers of Academic Lomonosov will give warmth to residents of many cities and settlements of the far north, and not only to them. Such floating nuclear power stations are planned to be installed in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, where due to earthquakes, terrain, inaccessibility, and other difficulties, it's too expensive, not profitable, and sometimes even dangerous to build common nuclear power plants. Songjiang Hotel. While the residents of the far north rejoice over the floating nuclear power plant, in China, locals are still admiring the Songjiang Intercontinental Hotel, which opened 4 years ago. This unusual project is the first underground hotel in the world. The hotel goes underground for 300 feet as it's built into the sheer wall of an old abandoned quarry. Once again, the smart Chinese have shown how to use the old ground cleverly. Interestingly, despite the presence of the quarry, Songjiang Hotel is often recognized as the most environmentally friendly hotel in the world. It's located, by the way, on the outskirts of Shanghai. In total, this hotel has 18 floors, 16 of them are below ground level, and only 2 are elevated above the surface. Even the roof was used. It serves as an original decoration and a wonderful place to relax and an additional protection of the hotel from the effects of weather conditions. The hotel has 336 rooms, a huge number of recreation and entertainment areas, as well as cool restaurants. China wouldn't be China if it could boast only one megaproject. The Three Gorges Dam is another incredible modern wonder of the world. This is a huge hydroelectric dam on the Yangtze River. It's the world's largest power plant in terms of installed capacity. This hydroelectric power plant is about 4 to 7 times more powerful than a common nuclear power plant. Not only does this large-scale project generate enormous amounts of energy, it also saves the Chinese population from floods of the Yangtze River each year. It's also contributed to the development of shipping. The price of passenger and freight traffic on the river has fallen by a third in just a few years. But that's not all. The Three Gorges Dam, or Sangzia in Chinese, is also one of the heaviest structures in the world. The concrete dam weighs over 144 billion pounds. It's hard to even imagine such a thing. However, despite all its advantages, the dam has negatively affected many people and a large number of buildings. During the construction of the Three Gorges Dam, 13 cities, 140 towns, and 1,300 villages were flooded. 1.3 million people left their homes, and 1,300 archaeological sites in China were destroyed. Galleria Department Store. Next up is a very unusual building. Once you see it, you'll never forget it. The Galleria Department Store, located in Seoul, South Korea, is distinguished by its unique sculptural facade and mosaic glass inserts. The department store stands right on the border between the park and dense urban buildings, so the architects decided to make it an extension of the natural landscape. They made the face of the building resemble a stone, and now the department store looks like a huge boulder that's grown out of the ground. The Architectural Bureau conceived this department store not just as a place for shopping, but as a public space for local residents. Throughout the premium store, there's a walkway that's connected to the street. It runs through all the floors of the store, giving visitors stunning views of the city through transparent mosaic inserts. And the final point of the walk is the rooftop garden. The Galleria department store has not only stores, but also exhibition spaces and spaces for cultural city events. The United Arab Emirates regularly surprises everyone with its super projects. Al Maktoum International Airport, also known as Dubai World Central, is definitely one of them. The airport has been in operation for a long time. It was opened back in June 2010. At the moment, the airport serves 5 million passengers and 250,000 tons of cargo a year. Even this isn't bad, but it's very little for the sheiks. Al Maktoum International Airport is not only a mega project of the present, but also a mega project of the future. The airport is being completed right now, and in a few years it should be absolutely unique object. According to the plans, Al Maktoum International Airport will be the first aeropolis on the planet. Not just a transport hub, but a real city at the airport with offices, factories, shopping centers, all the necessary entertainment and social infrastructure, and even its own free economic zone. The airport must grow so that it can serve not 5, but 160 million passengers annually. The amount of transported cargo will also increase dramatically, up to 14 million tons per year. The number of runways will also increase. It'll be interesting to see the final result. Al Maktoum Aeropolis is not the only mega project of the future. In the future, we'll also be able to see an insane transport system worth trillions of dollars, an unusual data center, and a completely new type of reactor. Stay tuned to see these mega projects that will definitely amaze you. New Silk Road. You've probably all heard of the Silk Road, which in ancient times connected East Asia to the Mediterranean. Much of the ancient trade was conducted along this route. That Silk Road no longer exists, but in about 30 years the world may see the new Silk Road. That's the name of the concept of the transport system, which should connect the countries of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Outwardly, it's still very difficult to assess the megaproject, but the figures speak of it. According to estimates, the cost will be $8 trillion. For comparison, the cost of the ISS, the most expensive man-made structure, is $150 billion. That is, the ISS is cheaper by about 53 times. The Megaproject is one of the main goals and ideas of the Chinese foreign policy. It's the celestial empire that's interested in the project more than others, and it invests much more than others. New Silk Road is promised to be completed in 2050, and it will include more than 7,000 different infrastructure projects in 64 countries in Asia, Europe, and Africa. When the project is completed, China will not only strengthen its position on the global market, but will also establish relations with those countries that plan to invest in the construction of the New Silk Road routes. In addition to routes, the project includes the construction of ports, skyscrapers, railroads, airports, and dams. If this project succeeds, it could change the face of world trade and make China the absolute and undisputed world leader. Norwegian data center. Data centers consume a lot of energy, but even more energy goes directly to cooling systems. To solve this problem, the Norwegian-American company Kolos plans to build the world's largest data center in Norway, where the cold climate will allow them to create the most efficient cooling system ever. The company's management has already chosen the location of the construction. It's located on the shore of a lake near the Norwegian municipality of Balingen. In total, the new data center will require about 1,000 megawatts of energy. At the same time, the cold climate will reduce energy costs for cooling by 60%. From this episode, you've already learned about the floating nuclear power plant, but these are not all achievements in the field of nuclear energy. Right now, a unique international experimental thermonuclear reactor is being developed, and at the same time, little by little, is being implemented. The project is called ITER. This is a real evolution, a transition from nuclear reactors to thermonuclear reactors, which until recently were considered unrealistic, or at least incredibly complicated. The thermonuclear reactor is being built in the French commune of Saint-Paul-les-Durance. ITER should demonstrate the possibilities of commercial use of thermonuclear reactors, but this will not happen before the middle of this decade. The completion date of this very complex construction is scheduled for 2025. That's all, guys. What megaproject would you like to implement yourself? Tell everyone in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.